Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to Game Brigade. I am Brian, and today I figured we would be taking a look at some Kickstarter and GameFound campaigns that just launched this week, and maybe see if anything strikes my fancy. A lot of games this week, in fact, did not launch, which I thought was interesting when I was going through what was supposed to launch and what didn't. Unfortunately, Far Cry got pushed to April, so I think April 8th is the new scheduled date for that one. So that was not something we can take a look at. But we're going to be taking a look at two campaigns today that I think are probably the most interesting ones that have launched, and kind of give you my thoughts on them. So uh, well, you saw one of my stream things right there. So without further ado, let's get over to Hamlet. So Hamlet, 18 days to go. We're currently at 2,855 backers, and they're doing great at $156,000. So I have talked about Hamlet already. This game is a tile laying game where players are actually working cooperatively but also competitively because you're trying to get the best score as you're building your village out. And so when I say cooperatively, from what I gather, the buildings and the resources that the buildings that you generate are community owned. So when you build a building, everyone can use that building in the village. It's not owned by you. So that has some interesting mechanics involved with that. And I have played games, for example, Brass Birmingham has examples where you can build things and people can utilize your stuff. And I've liked it at times. I also don't like it because sometimes as a player who might, and I again don't know exactly how this game works in terms of all of the mechanics. Haven't played it, haven't dived into the rule book. But I do know, like, you're taking materials, you're refining those materials, which you can then use those materials to build even better buildings. I only have had situations sometimes, though, where sometimes it's feel bad moments when you're the player who builds something and then other people can take value on the thing that you built. So I'm wondering how that is implemented in this. But what I really think is cool, and I talked about this in my last video, was how the roads mattered. When I was looking at the BGG link, you see some roads being built and some of them weren't connected. I was like, I wonder if this game means tile laying matters, because you're going to try to eventually connect these roads and all roads have to lead to like the city center or something, which I think is cool. I love the art. I love the designs. They've upgraded all these little tokens to little meeples, at least for the Kickstarter version, which I think is great. And so that's what I'm looking at. So obviously we're looking here at the Kickstarter version. They have this thing in the very beginning of the campaign, which I think is pretty cool. It talks about why back now kind of thing. Like, what are you getting? You're going to get a unique copy. Not a big deal for me. Could care less. But you're going to get these screen printed minis, and I think they've actually, or meeples rather, and I think they've actually upgraded the heat transfer, which will be good. And I like that. I think this brings a little bit more life to the game. Metal coins, don't really need the metal coins. The donkeys look great. I think that's a cool choice. And I thought this was a really cool thing. I saw this, and this is actually what made me click, is when I saw the advertisement, like one of the videos, it showed the 3D church being built in the middle. In fact, I could probably, let's mute this. I don't know if you guys can actually hear that, but right there. I thought that was really cool looking. Having that little church there in the middle as you're building up your hamlet and whatnot. So I do wish maybe there was something that you could fill in the gaps of like these things here. Maybe, I don't know. That's just me being OCD, like wanting trees or something there, because that's what I imagine as trees. But overall, I think this looks really good, and I think it's a game I would enjoy. I'm just not a big tile laying guy. Generally, in terms of games I've played, but there are stuff in my collection that I have played that is similar to this. Let me see here. I wish I could remember it off the top of my head. Whistle Mountain. Whistle Mountain's another tile laying game. Has these same kind of award tiles, and I've enjoyed it. So, and I enjoy city builders in terms of video gaming. So I thought maybe this might be something to take a look at. In terms of the price, let's come on down here to the pledge levels. I wish it would be easier to see them. That's the merchant's pledge. So we have here the founder's pledge. About $60 is what they're considering it. With what you're getting right here, $60, it's an instant buy for me. in most cases. So I want to see the shipping, because I think that's going to be the other thing that's going to be most impactful for us. Where are we at here? Shipping. So right here, Hamlet 12, about $15 is what I would assume is what they're considering for shipping. So you're looking at $75. I think even at $75, if this game has enough tiles to make it pretty in depth, there's a good value here. So I think this is one that I'm really going to be looking heavily at in terms of backing. And I think the box art looks great. I think overall the gameplay looks really cool. I like the components that they're adding to this deluxe version. Yes, this will be cheaper at retail, probably like a $40 game at retail. But again, remember, you're going to be getting cubes and whatnot. So it's going to look more akin to what we saw right here. I don't know where that one go with all the cubes that I was just right here. It may be more looking like this. Same kind of art, probably look just as good, but you're going to have more cubes for the resources and meeples and whatnot doing what they do. So that is Hamlet. What are your guys' thoughts on it? I'm pretty interested in this one. Again, would like to just dig into it a little bit more, but I'm thinking it could be good. The next game is on GameFound, and this is Warpgate Beyond. Talked about this one as well in my March games. And Warpgate is a 4X game. Now, I love 4X games. I'm a big 4X gamer. So I want to take a look at this game and see what is it and would I be interested. And there's some interesting things going on with Warpgate. So basically, Warpgate is a 4X game, which is expand, exterminate, exploit, and explore. So exploring is not really that big in this one because you have this board. But basically what you're going to be doing is you're going to be taking your civilization, spreading across the galaxy, trying to control these different planets while you're vying for control against these other regions. So there's going to be a little bit of area control in there. And the interesting mechanic that they involve in this game is you have your action cards that will be doing your actions, and you have this player board here. And based on the turn it is in the round or something like that, you'll play a card on the 1x, the 2x, the 3x, or the 4x, and that will power up the card strength. So you have to play, I believe, from what I gather, you play in the first round a card in the 1x. So, for example, if I did production to build units on the 1x slot, so my first turn, I would build 1 unit. But if I built it on the second round, on the 2x, I'd build 2 units, etc., etc., so 3 and 4. So, same thing with movement. If I played a card that said movement, if I played on the 1x, I can move 1 space from 1 space to another space. And there's not just movement, but there's also like advanced attack movements. So you have ones that are like aggression and ones that are just movement for trade. I think it's an interesting play because you want to really think about what you want to do all 4 turns. So you're having to think a little bit ahead of time, which is cool. And the combat uses a very similar system to what's one of my favorite war games, Kemet, does, where you have these battle cards. So from what I gather, based on the amount of ships or units that you have involved in a conflict, you'll draw that many cards. I believe this is how I was explained. And then you pick one from that card, and then it'll have an effect. And the top of the card will have some sort of multiplier, 1x, 2x. I've seen some that says 0x, so I'm interested. Are they just saying it doesn't have an effect, or is it literally just 0? So we'll see how that goes. And then you go off the victory. So I like that the combat is not being forced on dice, that there's a little bit more strategy involved in that. But where am I hiccuping at? Where am I hiccuping at? From every reviewer I've seen that talks about Warpgate, is that it is a lighter version of a 4X game. That it's just like dipping its toes in each of the 4 X's and doesn't really embrace the full mechanical experience of it. Like, you're not actually exterminating people. It's like just little, conflict is good, but not like too bad. Exploration's good, but you're not really exploring. You're just kind of moving around. It's interesting, and some people call it a palate cleanser. It's touting that it's a smaller, lighter game, 1 or 2 hours for a gameplay. And it makes me think, I've got a lot of good 4Xs. Does Warpgate and its expansion earn a spot in my collection when I already have good 4Xs? And when would I choose to play this over something else? Because right now, in its time slot, Warpgate's going to be directly competing with Eclipse, Second Dawn for the Galaxy. And so that's kind of where I'm balancing at. It's not poorly priced. Now let's find that's the base game, that's the expansion. They have several different pledge levels, which is kind of something I'd have to look at. They've got the 1 to 4 player version. If I'm playing a 4X, in my opinion, 4Xs are almost always better with max player count, which to me would be closer to a 6 player version. But then again, some of these lighter games kind of work well. Like Eclipse still works well at 4X, even at 3 players. So maybe the 4 player count one isn't such a bad value. But I would be really heavily looking at this 1 to 6 player, which is I need the base game, plus the expansion is what we're looking at here. So we're looking at about $65 to $70. That is a little bit more expensive for me. And then, of course, we have to look at the shipping estimates, which we're looking at 15 euros. So we're coming closer to that $100 cost for this game, which doesn't, to me, show the value that I quite need there for me to push forward on Warpgate. So that's kind of where I'm sitting at with these 2 campaigns. And that is it for campaigns that launched this week that I'm looking at. Hamlet, I'm very interested in. Warpgate, not so much. I did want to bring up a late pledge that came out just recently. Final Girl Series 2 is now available, so if you missed the campaign during the live launch, you could pick it up in the late pledge option. I really enjoyed Final Girl. I went all in on the first one. I actually did not back Final Girl Season 2 because I felt like the amount of content that I got with the first season was enough to sate me. It's perfect for what I need for Final Girl, even though I really wanted 3 of the movies. And if I could have, I would love to replace 2, at most 2 probably, of the original series and put in the new ones from series 2, just kind of pick out better ones. I still think the 5 boxes really work well for what I want. I don't know. Or I probably would have just bought series 2. I don't know. I think series 1 is good. I think series 1 is very classic horror, but series 2 falls more in line into my movie genre tastes. So, but I want to bring it up anyway. So beyond what I think, I want to make sure I brought up the late pledge option because I still think it's a great game, and I want to make sure people are aware of it. So hopefully this is helpful for you. So that's about it. I already kind of did my my ending ramble here. Hamlet, looking very good. I'm very excited for that one. Would love to have gotten a preview copy so I can actually play it and give you guys a better impression of it. But from what I can see, it looks like a pretty solid, light tile laying game. And then Warpgate looks good, and I bet the gameplay is good. It's expensive for me though, and I don't know if it fits in my collection, so I'm a little hesitant on it. I do like its take on the action system, and it has the non dice rolling combat, so you're going to be playing cards, which I think is fun. I really like that in Kemet, so I think it's great that they're bringing something similar to Warpgate. And then again, Final Girl, if you're looking for that late pledge. I'll try to do these videos every once in a while to kind of give you guys some tips or things that I'm looking for. Maybe it's helpful for you if you're backing decisions. If there's games that you want me to look at, make sure you leave a comment, because I don't mind doing a video like this real quick and talking about campaigns that I might have missed. Otherwise, this is Brian from Game Brigade. I will talk to you all very soon.